Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of Brownsville Matters. Have with us this morning Ray Martinez, who is a chess coach, and he's been doing this full time as a way he makes his living for 24 years, I think he said. Is that right? 24 years?
Hi, you doing? Good morning. Yes, it's been 24 years. It started in 2000. I'm originally from Brownsville area. I was before that I was in Dallas. My parents came, going up in age, and so I came back. I'm the only son. I opened up a photography studio because my background is in photography. I was in fashion, and so. But I went to a tournament, and it was at Morningside, and there was like 900 kids there.
Oh,
and I was
goodness.
like, wow, I was literally like the cat in the cartoon when his tongue just rolls out, because, man, when I was a kid and I played chess, 50 kids playing chess was huge, and that would have been like a regional. And nowadays, actually about 4 years ago, we had a regional here in Brownsville. It happened at Veterans Memorial, and there were 1,600 kids playing.
Wow.
This past weekend we had one. It was probably roughly about maybe 1,250, and that's still a lot of kids, all over the valley. And that composes of Willacy County and Cameron County. That's it. And in March we're gonna have a state tournament, and it'll be just South Texas because Texas is so big.
And how many will be in that?
I've calculated about maybe 2,000, something like that, maybe 250.
Wow, that's huge.
I don't think it'll hit 3,000, but maybe it might. But still, Brownsville has the most chess players in the world. Our tournaments are the biggest tournaments in the world on a weekly basis. Now, there are tournaments around the world that happen, and they're organized and promoted and all that, and they might bring in maybe 3,000, 2,000, that guy. But it's like like a little drop in the water, that kind of deal. But Brownsville, on a regular basis, on a Saturday morning, you can see 900 to 1,000, 1,200 kids playing chess. At least twice a month.
My very good friend, Dr. Julieta Garcia.
Yeah.
She told me a story, and I think this goes back into the 90s, where she went up to Dallas, to UT Dallas, and she ran into a student that she knew. They were a graduate of, from Brownsville High School. But he was on the chess team there at UT Dallas that regularly won national championships in chess.
They did.
And he told her, he said, you have a championship team right there in Brownsville. He said, you just have to put them together. He said, so you got players who can beat me down there, and they may be in TSC, they might not be going to college yet, but you have a championship team.
Right.
And so she created, at what was UTB, UTB TSC, she created the first chess team.
Right.
And then they went on to finish in the top 4 over and over again nationally against UT Dallas and Harvard and stuff. And very impressive.
Yeah,
so where does that come from? Where did that talent come from?
Unfortunately, that talent comes from outdoors. Most of these top-rated chess players, they're either grandmasters or masters or senior masters, and they come from out of town. They come to study. And so they're coming from other countries, and that's what really. There's actually very few Texas players that are in the team. There's been a few. One of them was an ex-student of mine. Actually, 2 of them were ex-students of mine. But most of them come from out of town, and so obviously they get the scholarships and they come in and they represent us. I know they were very competitive against Susan Pogart's teams in the past, and this year they did really well. I mean, the last 2 years they've been doing excellent. They're in first place and all that. So, man, they're going for the cup here pretty soon here, and so hopefully they'll bring back another first.
But my understanding is that originally, when we go back to the 90s, that a lot of the raw talent came from Brownsville. They grew up here.
If you're talking scholastic chess. Chess, yes. Scholastic chess, the story goes, I wasn't here at the time. Chess actually was back in the 60s.
Okay.
And even before then, there's chess. There was a group that used to hang out over at Levy. Some Argentinians, I believe, used to hang out there, as story goes. And then there was another club that used to hang out at Pound Lounge. I was probably about maybe third grader or so, and of course I was too little to go there. Back in the day, it wasn't a family place; it was more like a bar, But I remember in the sixth grade, I got invited to an event there, and I went, and there was quite a lot of gentlemen that were playing, and it was really strong team. But that was back in 60s, 67, 68, somewhere in there. So they had been around. I originally started to play chess back when I was in the second grade. Being Ayala, which I think most of you know, Felix Garza, and they came over. I went to Resaca Elementary. They came over and they invited us to go to the boys club. And so that afternoon, I walked home. I was just across the street, and I told my mom, "Can I go to the boys club?" She goes, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Back in the day, we could just go 4 blocks and we're there. And the safety issues, of course,
very
everything was
safe.
cool, right? Pretty safe. So I go there. I liked it. I learned how to play pool or play table tennis, board games, basketball, baseball, all of that, And so one afternoon, I saw Coach Felix Garza and Coach Bean Ayala were playing chess on stage. Back then, it was the old house, the original Brownsville Boys Club, and on stage that's where the library was at. And both of them were playing chess, and I climbed up there, and I was just amazed. I was just like, wow. And so after they finished their match, I asked them, can I learn how to play chess? I want to learn how to play chess. In fact, I don't even know what it was called. I want to learn how to play that.
Whatever you're playing, I want to learn how to play that.
And so Bean Ayala took me under his wing, and we would play 3 games every day. And then, of course, I was getting beat up. And so I decided, let me go to the library and check out some books on chess. And so I started teaching myself how to play chess. And then whatever I would read, whatever I would learn, I would go try it on Coach Bean. And after about a year, I probably started playing some better games. I think I probably finally beat him and all that. But here I am, a little second grader, maybe third grader by then. And so now I have acquired, I would say at the time, maybe 1,000 rating, chess rating, maybe a little higher. And so then they used to have tournaments, and we used to go all over the valley, and we would have what we call game room tournaments. And so we would have everything from debate to checkers to chess to pool, table tennis, different things like that. And this was all by the Brownsville Boys Club. It's club just for boys, right?
So would you all play all of these games as part of the tournament?
No.
Or was it just
we had individual champions.
I see.
Every
Okay.
city would put their champions together, and they would compete against the other ones. I always took I was a checker champion, but I never competed in the checker champion, championships. But I was the chess champion. And so, in fact, we even went to state, and I took that as well. Here I was in the 6th grade.
How old were you
I
when
was
you did
probably,
that?
4th grade, 5th grade, that kind of deal.
Yeah. You were kind of a prodigy.
Well, I don't know, maybe. But when I was in 6th grade, I went to Cummings Elementary, and I was part of the Hannah team, or in that case, the Brownsville High School. It was the first year that they were Brownsville High School at Hannah. And so back then, they didn't have divisions, like K1, primary, championship, and all of that. But from there, it just started. I was on a totally different level. I was teaching. I was carrying my chess set. I was helping everybody learn how to play chess. Whoever wanted to, I was just trying to promote it, right? So anyway, I take off, and I guess there comes Guajardo comes in and starts his program at Russell. I wasn't around, but he started his program at Russell, and then I think there was another program at Morningside, and those were the powerhouses back in the day.
That's what I
so when I
remember.
got in 2000, it was Russell and Morningside. I got invited to a tournament. It had nothing to do with chess. In fact, my boy started to play chess, and I offered, hey, can I help out? And no, we do our own thing, And so, and I didn't blame them because they didn't know who I was, and I didn't know. I just knew I was a good chess player. But I wasn't. I hadn't been a teacher. I hadn't converted to become a teacher yet.
I see.
As a coach. But what happens then? People recognize me. Hey, you used to carry your chessboard around. Why don't you give my kids some tips? Okay, bring them over to the studio. So they came over to the studio, a tip or two, or boom, boom, boom. Then after a while, said, hey, you know what? Sometimes I can't meet with you because I'm busy, and you guys sometimes you're busy, and so I decided to create a class. And so my class was, 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, $20. And all of a sudden, I started seeing the performances changed. I started seeing different people winning, and all of a sudden, my players were up there winning. And for the longest time, because back then I was probably the only tutor. There was probably one more, and it was Raymond Duque that was teaching chess. But other than that, in fact, Raymond Duque was very instrumental in getting the Russell team to get to the championships because he was the actual trainer. What was I going to say? Oh, and so that started to change. And so then I finally decided to, okay, you know what, let's just shut down the photography business and then just concentrate on chess. And so being, 2000, well, probably about 1,500 kids per year joining the chess teams here in Brownsville. They gave me a lot of students. And so for about 3 years, I was just doing classes. Then I had another class that I did. At some point, I was doing, 50 students per class, especially right before the big tournament, like regionals and stuff like that. And then eventually, I turned that into private lessons. What
is it that a beginner lacks to move to intermediate, let's say? What are the kind of consistent things that you find yourself teaching?
Foundation. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is I have a lot of kids. I call myself like a chess doctor. A lot of kids come to me, and they might have been playing for 5 years. They might have been playing for 4 years, but they can't. They're at a plateau. Mm-hmm. They're at a plateau, and they can't seem to go above that. And they might even be winning trophies, but they just can't get to the next rating level. And so they come to me and I say, okay, this is wrong. This is wrong. You're missing this important item, and this is why you don't see this. And so that's what I do for my students. Once they get past it, then all of a sudden, boom, they're ready to study with a master or a grandmaster, mm-hmm. because I am a foundation chess specialist. That's what I do. And so once the foundation is solid, they're going to grow. They're going to grow. Without a solid foundation, they're only going to go so far. And unfortunately, that's why when we go to nationals, sometimes we don't win. We win as a team, but individually, sometimes we just don't cut it because the training it's gotten a whole lot better.
Do you watch them play the game?
No, but they do. What they do is they record their games. And that means that they make a move, they write down the move they made. They make a move, they write down the move. And so after the match, we get together and we review the games. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times that's not done. A lot of these kids. Yesterday, I had a kid at the library. He came in. This kid won a trophy at regionals. He won 5 games out of 7. And I asked him, did you notate your games? That means you write down your moves and hit your opponent's move. He says, no. I go, no, I never been taught. And yet he got a trophy. He won 5 out of 7 in his division. And so I started working on that. And then I told him, okay, this is why we need to notate. You will not become a better chess player until you notate. And he got it. It made sense to him. He was talking about, what was he talking about? Oh, we were talking about a pin. A pin is when, like, for say, a bishop, a rook, or a queen attack a minor piece or a smaller piece, and behind that, on that same line, is a piece of greater value. So he was saying, yeah, I know what a pin is, and I go, yeah, but do you know the power of the pin piece? You never heard that, So these are little things that, just kind of energizes the tactics. I had a little girl the other day, and she's going to become a new student. And again, she wasn't notating. You need to notate. And then I told her, and then I said, let's play a game. So she made some moves, and she was making some good moves. And then, but I told her, you're not controlling the center. She goes like, what's that? And I go, well, what do you do? So I asked her, what do you do? And she goes, well, I like to do drama, and I like dancing. And so the mom says, yeah, she's been dancing ever since she was a kid. And I go, well, let me ask you, when you dance, do you want to be on the edge of the stage, or do you want to be in the center
That's a good
stage?
example,
Go, I want to be in the center. And she goes, that's right, baby. The center, that's what you need to control. You need to control the center. The player that controls the center, these 4 squares in that area, is the player that's going to be winning. And she go, wow, and her little eyes just light up, and I go, it makes sense to her because I related chess to dancing.
Great example.
And I always do that. I have stories where I used to have a kid from Westlake at one time, and this guy, he was a junior, And man, this guy would read Wall Street and anything business. You know what? In this position, there's a sacrifice to be made. And, I say, well, think of it this way. You invest, $3, per se, the nice 3 points, and you're going to get a return of 9, which is the queen, so you're investing $3, the guy's going to take it, you're going to capture his queen. And so I was using these techniques
good investment.
This ideas because he understood business. And so all the lessons were based on business. And I do this with the kids that do dancing, I do the kids do football, whatever the kid's into, I'm going to turn it into chess and help them understand the concepts of chess. Because that's what they know. A lot of times we talk a lot about invading the force field and destroying the force field because nowadays these kids play video games.
Yeah, that's good.
And so they understand that. And so that's my message is always received and it's understood, and that's why my students win. I totally changed their way of thinking because I want my kids to think outside of the box. I've been doing this for 24 years. It's no longer about chess. Yes, I'm a chess coach, but it's no longer about chess. My whole deal now, and it has been for the last 5 years, is to get these kids excited about dreaming. What do they want to be? I had a kid one time, he's an artist, and my friend Gabriel would love the story, but he did all these drawings, and back then I was not much into art, but I told him, man, you draw so well, all these cartoons and stuff like that. What would you want to do with it? He goes, man, you know what? I would love to go work, like with Walt Disney's and all that. And I go, well, yeah, great. And I go, but wouldn't it be great if you own your own company? And then you could do this. And I go, wow, okay. His brother loved airplanes, and he used to go to Eckley Elementary. And Eckley back in the day used to have a pilot's a pilot's course, and he was a very talented chess player. We were going to go to nationals, and he said, "Sir, I'm not going to go to nationals." And, why not, man? You're probably bring a trophy home. No, I can't miss a single day because if I miss a day, I won't be able to fly the plane. And I go, what's the deal? He goes, yes, the top 3 players that finish the course get to fly the plane. And he goes, well, I'm not going to go. Okay. And he wasn't even in the top 3. He wasn't even in the top 3, but he kept going. And of course, we were doing chess lessons and all that. He ended up the year as, I think, number 2. He flew his Cessna, and man, it was great. I remember we were doing a chess lesson probably when he was a junior, because some of my students come back. Not that we do regular lessons, but they just come back to talk about life and, what's the next life lesson, that kind of deal. And so he says, I asked him, what are you gonna do? When he goes, I'm gonna join the Air Force. And I go, man, that'd be great. And then you can, study and all of that. And he goes, yeah, but I want to fly airplanes. And I go, man, you know what? That's great. Why don't you try to become a lawyer or a doctor or something like that, and then you can buy your own plane. You can fly me around. Well, right now the kid's at NASA, and who knows? He might be a Valley astronaut. I don't know. The dream keeps going. So the idea, my deal is to light the fire in them. Get them to dream. I want them to be able to say, you know what? I'm setting goals to get a PhD. And it all starts with a chess lesson.
Well, you talked about bringing, the world into their understanding of chess strategy, but what does chess teach them about the world, about their dreams?
Well, the thing is that nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. We hear the little story of the little pawn. The little pawn pushes and pushes and pushes, and once he gets across, he can become the queen, because that's the most powerful piece. Of course, he can become a rook, he can become a knight, or he can become a bishop. Now, the idea is that the pawn, it's the old story of it takes a village to raise a kid, right? So the pawn can't push all the way on by himself. He needs the protection of his other friends, the pawns, which is the best protector of the pawn, and of course the other pieces that are helping along the way so that he can reach his goal. And the thing is that nothing is impossible for anybody. I tell I tell people all the time, chess players are the smartest kids in school. That's why they come after chess. Sometimes I'll see kids in the library all the time. They look, chess, and then I ask the parents, and can they sit down and play? And so sometimes they do, sometimes, and I see these guys creating and interacting with the pieces, and I go, man, it's wonderful. Especially the kids with autism, they love the patterns that chess provides.
Good point.
And so. As a matter of fact, I had a kid. It was a high school kid. He has autism. I don't know him. He just sat down and he wanted to play, so we played. And he played a really good game. And I told him, you need to keep playing. You need to play playing. And it's like this is going to help you, because they were very open about him having autism. And the mom was there and the whole bit. And I go, it's going to change your life, because the other thing that I do is I do chess therapy. I'm the only one in Texas that does that. It's a small group of us in the nation, and so we deal with that, and with different aspects of that need chess therapy, because chess, playing the piano, playing the guitar are the only three things that science knows right now that balance both sides of the brain. Everything else we do, we use only one side.
But it's chess therapy for what? For treating what?
Anything from dyslexia. It doesn't treat it. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't treat it, but it helps them. It helps them understand the way they think. Dyslexia, autism, OD, and all of those.
I would think that chess would be useful for people who are wanting to avoid Alzheimer's, let's say, because we know that learning a language, they say late in life, can protect you from Alzheimer's.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'll just give a shout out here to Winter Haven Resort Park. My friend Howard over there, he's got this chess club for 55 and above. Of course, anybody else can come in. They meet Saturdays at 4:00 there. This is Winter Haven, and so one of the deals. I'm their coach actually. I haven't been there for a while because I've been really busy with lessons. But the main deal there is that chess helps with the old timer. It helps them. It's exercise for the brain. It's exercise for the brain, and you can do stuff like Sudoku. You can of course play an instrument. Of course the language bit, but nothing beats chess because it works both sides of the brain, and that's what keeps you young. That's what keeps you alive. Basically, it's said that if you stop learning, you die. And so that's what you want to do.
Well, there's one of the things, my pet peeve about chess culture is that my daughter, who was 7, really liked chess, and I put her into the chess team or as part of the chess club at her school, but she found the boys to be so rowdy and so celebratory and so high-fiving all the time, and a kind of in-your-face I won attitude, that she quit. The boys drove her out in a sense. And so I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better to have all girls chess, because the boys, particularly at a young age, I think, are so hyped up and so high on victory and so celebratory about it that they intimidate the girls.
Yeah, well, actually, there's been a movement in the past 5 or 6 years by my friend Susan Pogard, now Jennifer, and others that creating the girls club, a place, and they normally meet like at nationals, and normally this is a place where girls get to meet strong chess players. And at that point, my students always get invited to those things because obviously the eyes of the nation, the top players, not the top players, but like the masters and the grandmasters that know me, they keep an eye on the Royal Knights. Because at one point we're going to be the competition, and another point they've mentored me, and they know that I'm teaching what they would teach. And
how do you become a grandmaster?
Well, you have to be a very strong player, You have to play at a certain level. Once you reach a 2,500 and probably 2,500 and above rating, then you play at certain specific tournaments, and you have to get what they call 3 norms. 3 norms is once you get your 3 norms, it's like 3 points basically.
Right.
Once you get those 3 points from 3 different tournaments, then you're qualified to become a grandmaster.
And how many grandmasters are there in the world?
I believe there's at least at least 400. There might be a little. The number's not that great.
And what's above Grandmaster?
Nothing. Grandmaster. Well, the world champion.
The world champion.
The world champion, of course. But he himself is a Grandmaster. But the thing is this. Not everybody can become a Grandmaster. Hopefully we train to become a Grandmaster, but it's a lifetime to achieve that. It's like, you dream of becoming an astronaut, but not everybody can become an astronaut, That's why there's very few of them, But it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible.
But
is that what your life wants to go? Then yeah, go for it. But most people stop probably around 1600, maybe 1800, somewhere in there. Some reach 2000 or so. It just depends. Some people play it to compete. Some people play it for the pleasure of it, and some people play it for the art of thinking.
You play it when you're 90 or 99 years old.
Well,
one of the things I like about in walking through grand parks in Europe or Mexico.
Yeah, New York.
You got all these old guys out playing chess. It's wonderful to see
and I've been screaming for years. I want to Chess Plaza, Brownsville. I used to have a club that would meet at Sunrise Mall. We would get anywhere from 20. Probably at least 20 kids playing, and some adults would come by. And sometimes, a couple of times, we had some masters that were visiting in town from, because we were at the Sunrise Mall, and so they would sit down and play with us and that kind of deal. But we need something like that because our chess culture is tremendous. There's literally, if there's 1,200 kids playing, that's 1,200. That's what, at least 3,000. Parents there. Brownsville, 12,000 voting parents. But the thing is this, chess gives the kids a future. I've seen bandit. I've seen at least one story of a bandit, a bandido, a gang, Pachuco, that kind of deal, convert his life and become a very successful man now. And in fact, he coaches baseball. There was a time when we did an intervention and we turned him over and he started to play chess, and then we did another one. But now he knows where he's at, but where he came from. And chess was the vehicle that we used to convert his life and change him in that direction. So chess has done a lot of things. Athletes that play chess become better athletes because they're no longer predicting they're no longer reacting to what's going to happen. They're predicting what the action is going to be like. So I've had that. I discovered that years ago with one of my students, another student from Weslaco, where this guy was an all-star baseball player, and all summer we did chess, and he goes to baseball practice, his first practice, and he does so much better than he ever did. And they asked him, they asked the mom, hey, so what happened? Did you take him to Ranger camp, Astral camp? What? He's so much better. What do you do? You play chess. Chess! Yeah. So they asked him, so Bradley, why are you so much better at baseball now? Well, sir, because when I'm at home plate, I'm looking at the distance between the players. I'm checking the sun, the way it hits. He was analyzing everything. He was playing chess on the field. And I normally tell my athletes, hey, use your chess skills. Especially, so I have a lot of kids that play soccer. And so a lot of our chess lessons are based on soccer. So whatever they do, I want to relate it to them,
That's good.
And so, yeah.
So if a student or a parent wants their child to get involved with the Royal Knights, how do they do that?
Well, they can check me out on Facebook under Ray Martinez or under the Brownsville Royal Knights. I'm always at the library. I'm not easy to find.
The Brownsville Public Library?
Yeah, I'm always at the Brownsville Public Library. I sit right in the front, and so people can't miss me. I've done, in fact, at the library, I haven't done any this year. I want to put them into my schedule, but I used to offer a free lesson once a month there. And so we would get anywhere from 30 to 40 kids, and so that kind of deal. I just love chess, and I want to promote chess. I wish I wouldn't have to charge, and I could just do it for free. But obviously, we all have to make a living, that kind of deal. And so, but the thing is this, chess also offers students the opportunity of scholarships, not so much from chess.
That's true.
Not so much from chess. We recently had an all-girls tournament, and the scholarship winner, I believe, got $1,000, and no big deal, right? It's $1,000. But I remember years ago, one of my students competed at an all-girls event, and she got $40,000. So now we're talking like real scholarship,
money, right?
Serious money, right?
That's a degree right
now,
there.
the other thing about this is that what does chess do? Well, if the student participates in the chess program, they'll get so far. When they hire a private coach like myself or any other coaches around, and the coach teaches them the art of thinking, obviously their SAT scores will be a lot higher. When they're more than likely going to get scholarships, provided from other ones. If they're with me, I tell them, you know what? Write letters, juniors. Write letters everywhere. Write Coca-Cola. Write everybody. Write the Dallas Cowboys. Anybody would probably offer a scholarship. Write them an essay. Learn to write. I always tell my students, learn to write. Write something every day because, hey, that's why they don't go for an essay because their writing skills, right? They don't like to write. But anyway, these guys might get a scholarship, but they're in college with a rating of 1,800 and above. The different companies look at these kids because that's public knowledge. The chess ratings are public knowledge. So these companies are head hunting. Mm-hmm. They're looking for these great minds that can think outside of the box, and they'll offer them internships. And then they're able to work with them eventually and acquire high paying positions because again, chess players are creators. Chess players are problem solvers. Chess players change the dynamic of things because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be a great investment into any company. They're going to be a profit.
I binged watched the series The Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit, yeah.
And I mentioned it a moment ago, and I saw you kind of roll your eyes a little bit, like you didn't like it. I imagine that brought a lot of people into chess, though.
It brought a lot of people into chess. In fact, I used it too as part of my ads and all of that, And actually, that's kind of like my story, Of course, Coach Bing wasn't the janitor, but that's the thing, The janitor brought chess to life for Beth, and so just the fact of her, the way she was thinking, she was imagining.
I love the way they visualize. They help us visualize
because chess is very visual. Chess is very visual,
and I think that was something for those of you who played chess. You probably said, "Oh yeah, of course." But for those of us who didn't grow up playing chess, it was a way for us to understand how the mind works and to visualize that. So,
because chess players are normally 2 or 3 moves ahead. And so it'll help in business. You become a good chess player. You know what's going to help you in business. I have a friend, Evan Raven, up in New York, and he's always inviting me to go to New York to do chess lessons. But anyway, he's a national master, and he's done broadcasts. Inviting different celebrities and all of that and talking about chess. But one of the things he does is a chess class for lawyers. And when he first started that, I remember we were talking about it, and I go, hey, Evan, you're going to do a chess lesson for lawyers. Obviously, they have the money to pay you, but what's the purpose? And he goes, well, they want to learn strategies. And I go, okay. And I guess it would work, because you're in battle. The lawyers are in battle, and they gotta plan their strategies. They gotta be one move ahead. And man, he's been doing that since before COVID.
It makes a lot of sense, really. Although it's scary to think lawyers would be even better. at making things difficult.
Well, that kind of deal. Chess players make. I haven't heard this, but I know. I was a chess player as a kid, and my whole idea changed. I became a better basketball player because I would create moves like they were openings. So I would pretend, okay, this guy's there, and I would practice. I'm going to move the ball this way. I'm going to dribble behind my back, in between my legs, and boom, boom, boom. And I would practice all of these moves, and when I actually played, then I would execute the moves, and I would win. I was so good. In the 6th grade, I was on the 8th grade team. In my freshman year, I was in the varsity team. Of course, I didn't play after that because I was in band. And at those times, during those days, you could only do one or the other. You couldn't do both. But I did continue playing basketball for the boys club, and I was always one of the stars, or if not the star. But the thing is this, excuse me. Where was I going with it?
You're talking about all the chess teaches you strategy and teaches you to think better.
Oh, now, where I was going to sales, right? And I was going how chess helps me and how chess became that. So when I was in sales, just regular retail sales, it just gave me the idea of creating what's the next step? What's the next step? How do you overcome that obstacle? How do you turn that no into a yes? And so definitely chess will help you salespeople because you're a step ahead. I've sold, in my lifetime, I sold encyclopedias door to door. Like I said, I used to sell jewelry. I remember working at JCPenney's. I would sell everybody electronics. Everybody would be afraid to walk to where I was because I would sell them something, But it's the idea of being ahead. Ahead of the plan, ahead of the move, And so, chess, I highly recommend it to everybody. They should start playing. Man, you should introduce a chessboard to your 2-year-old, to your baby. Have them start playing with pieces. It's not about learning to play chess, but it's about introducing the visual of chess, introducing the pieces. Just have them play with them, put them in their mouth, whatever. Maybe set up the board and then just go boom and boom and boom and that's okay. The first lesson to learn is take turns. You can show them later, but you're developing the passion for the game at that age. Kids probably are ready to take lessons at age 3. Probably 30-minute lessons, and then 4 they can sometimes they can handle an hour lesson, not 30-minute lessons.
So even when they're that young, you'll take them.
I've taught several. I would say probably 6 or 7 3-year-olds. 2-year-olds I haven't, and I don't suggest private lessons for 2-year-olds. Right. But 3-year-olds only if they have the maturity for a lesson. Sure. If not, I start taking them at 4. But the thing is, when they're 4 years old, they're getting ready so that they can compete when they're in pre-K and when they're in kindergarten, and then they can actually be national champions by the time they get to kindergarten or so.
So again, they can reach you on Facebook.
They can reach me on Facebook or call me or Ray Martinez on Facebook or the Brownsville Royal Knights.
Well, listen, thanks a lot for coming in. I appreciate
it's a pleasure.
This lesson, and glad that people know how to reach you so they can start their prodigies off on the journey early.
That's what it's all about, man. Getting them to see the dream.
Thanks for watching this BSPA video. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you like what you see. And if you really like what you see, go ahead and go to our website, brosoperformingarts.org, and smash the donate button. And then we'll really like you too.